The the Premier League and NPL 1. And we're also going to get Labi Halidi, head coach of Sydney Olympic as well. They had a great win over the weekend. What we're going to do, I'll just quickly read out the results, and then we'll arrange Labi to come on as well, and we'll have a quick chat with him about what's happening at Sydney Olympic as well. So the results were Western Sydney. The results were Rockdale City 1, Spirit 1, we had Sydney United 2, Apia 1, we had Manly 6, Wollongong 0, we had Marconi 3, St George City 1, Blacktown City 1, Sutherland 0, as we said, Sydney Olympic 4, Mount Druitt 0, Western Sydney Wanderers 0, Sydney FC 0. The table at the moment as it stands, Spirit still on top, the surprise package, equal points on 21 points with Marconi Stallions. Marconi looking very good, solid for a back-to-back they're chasing this year. Manly United, another surprise package, in third spot on 15. Rockdale are in fourth on 15 points as well. Fifth, Blacktown City on 15 points. And sixth is RPR, which rounds out the top six on 14 points. You've got St George City on 14, Olympic on 12, played a game less, Sydney United on 12, Sutherland 11, Wollongong 10, Sydney FC Youth 8, Mount Druitt 8, St George City 7, Central Coast 5, Western Sydney United Youth. I'll just, while I get Labi Halidi on, we'll look at some of the games. Achilles, the big game was, of course, at the top of the table clash where we had Perkovic's Spirit FC flying against Rockdale Cities. They shared the points 1-1. I believe you were at that game. How did you see that game? And Spirit FC, they've really, they're doing well. They're still undefeated, and they're still ticking along nicely, picking up points consistently.
Tubba, I made my way out to Illingdon Sports Centre on the weekend, on Sunday, yesterday, and it was a pleasure to watch both teams go head-to-head. I was really surprised with the way Perkovic has got his team playing. Fast, free-flowing football. They don't hold on to the ball too long. They move it forward at speed. He's got a couple of very technical players in around the 10 and the 9 that combine really well. A very solid back four. And they're very vocal. Like, every player knows what they're doing. And on the other hand, you've got Rockdale. Rockdale, me being there last year and seeing how hard they train and what Paul D gets them to do week in, week out, and the way they play their shape in their blocks and the way they move the ball. It was like end-to-end football, and it could have gone either way. Rockdale had plenty of possession, created chances, and then Spirit would get it and come at them at 100 miles an hour. So both teams should be commended for playing really attractive football. And that's what you want to see in the NPL. You want to see, fast-flowing football and these, guys trying to get a gig in the A-League, and hopefully, some A-League clubs are watching, like Harrison Devison-Mears, the goalkeeper from Rockdale last year. Now he's, the gloveman for Sydney FC. And it goes to show that, some clubs are watching, and whether, you're coming first or last in the NPL 1, it doesn't matter, So let's hope that all these other clubs can take note and play entertaining football to hopefully bring the crowds back.
Labi Halidi, good evening. First grade coach of Sydney Olympic, one of the historic clubs here in Australian football land, probably one of the most pressured jobs, cooking jobs in the land as well at Sydney Olympic Football Club. Good evening. Welcome to Football Fever.
It's been a while. Thank you for having me.
Firstly, before we'll talk quickly about the game against Mount Druitt on the weekend, and then we'll get into a few things about what's been happening at Sydney Olympic and how everything's developed. But you had a good win on the weekend against Mount Druitt. Watched the game. It's good after not playing the week before. Good solid win against Mount Druitt, 4-0.
Yeah, look, I think the first half you could tell that having that weekend off, it sort of wasn't ideal, but in the second half things clicked and we scored quite quality goals, but you got to give respect to the other team, and it was a good battle for about 50-55 minutes, and then sort of the quality started to come out, and we showed what we can do. But again, like I said, with all due respect to Mount Druitt, again, they were good for 50-55 minutes. They were really good, and it was a good battle. And to be fair, that's what you expect now. There's no easy games, and it was a good win. And we just take one game at a time.
Labby, Sydney Olympics always been known as a club that is always challenging. They want to challenge. They want to win the championship. It was happening in the NSL days, even in the NPL days. I know of late it's been a lot harder financially for the club as well. Over the years, they've got still the agreement. We're still playing out of Belmore Oval. Yourself, I know you've had you've had your critics as well that you've had over the past 2 seasons. It hasn't been, it is difficult at times. Like I said, it's a pressure cooker, hot seat club. What are your thoughts about how is the club moving forward? I know we've got the B League coming. What is the club's aim? Like, is it just now more of a feeder club? We're trying to produce players. What direction is Sydney Olympic in right now?
Good job, I think the club means a lot to me. I think it's a club that's given me my first steps as a youngster, and then obviously I went on to have a playing career. And you fast forward 15, 20 years later, I'm back at the club. I know what the club is. I know what the club was, and I really feel that because I was one of them, and I am one of them now. It gave me everything. So for people that want to know my history, obviously they took me as a 15-year-old and under Frank Arrock and Peter Raskopoulos and so on, names that were there back there at the time. So the club has always been big. The club will always be big. Whether that's we're talking about winning or not or whatever, the club is just, the history of a club is rich, and I know that firsthand because I was part of it back then in 1999, 2000, 2001, 2002, and so on, before the A-League started, and then went on into the A-League journey. It's been challenging, but there's a challenge that I face, and I'm at the front of it, and I take the criticism and the good and the bad. It's part of it. I think I've had it at Wanderers. I was at Wanderers for 12 years, and there's no different there either when I was as a player. Now, as a coach, obviously we're trying to implement new things, and I think you can see the squad this year. It's average age, I think it's 22, 23, apart from Ziggy and Parkhouse. It's a very young squad. It's a squad that we look to get from different part of sort of Australia, not just New South Wales. We've got boys from Brisbane, we've got boys from Newcastle, boys from New Zealand, and so on. The squad is quite young, and they're gelling. They're showing signs of improvement. There's a lot happening in the development phase of the youth coming up. A lot of players, the 18s, the 20s, that are training with the first grade. We lost last year, just in the youth space, around 12 players to A-League clubs. And look, we will never stand in anyone's way. Just the last 10 days, we lost Sammy McAholton to America. Another good player, another good servant to the club. So at the same time, the challenge is obviously to try and challenge at the top and win things and be at the top and compete. And make no mistake about it, I'm very, very well aware of that. But at the same time, we've got the championship coming ahead, which they're obviously with the B League, you want to call it. So there's a lot of things happening there in terms of us, the training structure, the training setup. I think we're probably the only New South Wales club at the moment that train in the morning, 4 morning sessions a week. So there's a bit of professionalism going into the setup, and part of that was the players that we recruited that don't have their jobs, that don't have to work from 6, 7 a.m.s, because we started morning training sessions. So it's all these little things that are adding the little 1%ers, and at the same time, again, I keep saying the same thing. We need to be competitive. I'm well aware of it. I am at the front of it. And like I said, I've been through it before as a player, and now it's no different. I'm no different to any other coach either. Like I said, every club in NPL also you got to respect them. And so if you're not winning, then you got to put your hand up. You're going to be the first one. But there's a lot of things going behind the scenes in terms of the youth, the development, and the players coming up. And then you can see that on the performance of level during the weekends games. So yeah.
Achilles.
Maybe can I?
Yeah.
Sorry, Chubbs. I just want to ask Labby about a competition that's become one of my favourites. I know a lot of people I speak to about football at that NPL level is the Australia Cup and how clubs like Sydney Olympic take the Australia Cup. We've seen some of the scenes in the Australia Cup competition in recent years have been magnificent, and a lot of NPL clubs do very, very well because of the structure of when the A-League clubs are incorporated into that competition. But how important is a good cup run, as so to speak, is what they call it overseas, and now that it's here, how important is a good cup run for the club, Labby, and for yourself personally?
I think it's very important, but it's not about me. It's never been about me. It will never be about me. I think a cup, it's important because it gives you the platform of players obviously showcase themselves and the talent of what they're all about. Now, whether you end up going into round 32, 16 and so on and finding an A-League club, obviously that's what everybody wants. That's just one of the targets. But again, it's another game. And I keep saying to the players, every time that you put the jersey on, it weighs, even if it's a friendly game. So a cup game, of course, it's important, and it's a competition that I, first of all, as a player, respected, but now as a coach, definitely respected even more. But again, it's a more opportunity for players to show themselves. Like I said, you could end up joining an A-League club where you bring attention to yourself as a player individually, and of course as a club. So I think it's very important.
Achilles?
Labby, how are you, mate? Achilles here. Just a couple of things I've got to mention is, Sydney Olympic being an ethnic background club of Greek culture, and a lot of aspiring young Greek kids, aged anywhere from 11, 12, 13s and onwards, they want to come and play for Olympic and, playing in their youth system and then, go to the 18s and the 20s. But looking at the first grade structure, I can only see that there's one or two, ethnic Greek backgrounds there. Is there anything the club that can do to promote the Greek players and get the Greek fans coming back to the game?
At the time, and it's a good point, but at the time when I came at the club, I can't recall, apart from the goalkeeper and any young players coming through and playing when I came. I was the one that gave minutes to Peter Politis. Unfortunately, a boy that I have a lot of respect, a boy that grew up at the club, a boy that showed a lot, and I thought he was the next best thing coming around in NPL. If I'm being honest, he showed all the qualities that he could be an A-League player. Unfortunately, had a big injury against South Melbourne. Michael Varkas is another one. Varkas is a young kid again, but he's had a bit of a turbulence in the last few weeks with an injury. We've got a lot of 20 players that are training with first grade, and it's about just waiting for the right opportunity and the timing of it. Like I said, throughout our youth setup, we have, again, different cultures. It's not just about one or the other. And I was a young kid.
My point is this: I've been involved with other clubs, and I know that there is a prerequisite there to get, the sponsors more involved and the fan base more involved. And I did a poll on the weekend 2 weeks ago, and there's 25 ethnic Greek players playing in the NPL 1. 25. And, me being of Greek heritage myself, I look at it and I say to myself, why can't Olympic have 3 or 4 there or 5? Wouldn't it be good to have a Greek club? Because having the Greek colours, wouldn't it be nice to see 3 or 4 Greek players there and promoting the Greeks again, bringing that base back?
Like I said, at the moment we had them 2, and the 2 that are really showed positive signs, great signs. When I came to the club, there was none of them young ones, and they're getting it. There's a line in the 20s that are coming up. And again, I know what the club is all about. I was a 15-year-old when the club gave me the steps and gave me everything. I understand the club very well. And again, I'm there to give youngsters an opportunity. If you look throughout all clubs since I've been here, there's all by youngsters. And that time will tell, but also that their action on the field will also tell. That will speak louder than my words. So, yeah.
Labby, I think like not just Olympic, I think a lot of the ex-NSL clubs too, one of the hardest factor is to keep the community engaged. I mean, you know, they were playing in the elite competition, now they're playing in the NPL. I think the B League or whatever, this the round robin competition that's going to be played at the end of the season. But how hard is it, like yourself, and how hard is it for the club to still keep the community engaged? I mean, it must be a hard job at the moment.
Look, you have to understand the club, and like I'll give you an example. I think I went to some of the fans that come at the game that I've seen, and I've met them face to face. I went to their houses the other day, and I gave them the membership in their doorsteps myself.
That's brilliant.
And not many people know that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that because it's about me, but like I said, I understand what the club is about, and I went to their doorstep and I delivered the membership passes and made them feel welcome and made them come to the game. And again, they want to win. I want to win. That's normal. That's what we're doing it for. It's that passion, that drive, that especially the clubs, the historic clubs have. That's never going to go away. So I think you have to understand the club, and then once you understand the club, then you can engage with the community and with the people. And I do understand the club, and that's what. That just gave you one example of like we're going to schools and whatever might be the case to get out there more and promote the youth, promote the youngsters. There is a chance there. There is a pathway there. And like I said, Peter Pilatus, before I came, he never played 3 games in a row in the first grade. Michael Varkas is no different. And I played him. So, again, this is just an example, but in every club around the world, there could be a year where it's a bad cycle, it could be a year where it's a development phase, and then obviously the end product. So, and you're going to monitor these kids, and you can't just throw them out there and expect them, because they are going to get burned out. So it's the environment. First, you build the environment, and then you give them the pathway. I was 17-year-old where Gary Phillips gave me a chance. But when I came in, then I went back straight away again. Then work, then come back again. So there's an environment that you need to create for these youngsters to come through, and then support them, and then be patient with them too.
Labby, just quickly, how hard is it as well with the B League competition at the end of the season? Have you had much, like, your players are going to play obviously 30 rounds. In the Premier League, you also have a playoff series, and then you'll be going straight into that B League competition. So how is it hard? Has it been hard planning for that? And obviously, where Achilles is saying there probably will be more opportunities, because there's going to be more squad members needed for all these competitions. Plus, like you play in a cup competition, the FFA Cup as well.
Well, part of the reason where we started doing the full morning session is to lead us into that new phase, new era that everybody's excited about. Obviously, there's going to be certain rules that certain age players you need to sign for that league too, because there is rules there for that. We're already starting to look at that, and that's what you'll see a lot of youngsters at the moment. We got a lot of ex-players from, let's say, an A-League academies that have come in, that we looked at them, and they fit that profile between age 20 to 22, 23. And again, starting this early, the process of training and the mornings and the gym and the recoveries, all that, we believe that will put us in a good place come that time.
Andy, anything?
I just wanted to ask, Labby, obviously a big win on the weekend, but what's the expectation now for the remainder of the season? Are you guys? You did mention there's a quite a young squad, but are you expecting to go deep in the league and possibly make the finals, top 6?
Yeah. Again, we're talking about the size of the club, so I'm not going to run away from that and say.
I think the club, he's going to want to be in the top 6.
It's again, like I said, I think people forget that I was brought up in this club, so But again, you've got to understand it's good. You've got to take one game at a time. We win one game and everybody thinks that, things are good, or we lose one game and everybody then, oh yeah, it's part of football. It's you need to move on, and games come very, very fast. Obviously, Wednesday, Saturday, in our game again, then we've got to catch our game. So, but the most important thing is I think a coach once told me that you learn a lot from losses. And then, winning is good, and you get a lot out of it, obviously, the confidence and that. But I think you also have to be humbled and understand that sometimes on a day when you're not good enough, you will not win. And in NPL space, which I've got a lot of time for it, a lot of respect for the players, for the coaches. Every game is a battle. It's everybody wants to beat you. Everybody turns up, and it's a real passion that I really enjoy. For people that know me, that's how I am. And then I love the competition, and I respect the competition, and yeah.
Labby, it is a tough competition week in, week out. You do have to turn up. Looking at the table and the teams in the top 6 at the moment, who do you think is the dark horse to take? To finish in the top 2. Like Spirit's doing really well. Marconi's there again. You're looking at Rockdale, Manly, Blacktown, Arpia, and even St. George Saints. They're a bit of a dark horse. They're on a bit of a run at the moment, and then obviously followed by you guys in 8th position. So if you win your catch-up game, it brings you, catapults you to top 5, and then obviously you want to get on a bit of a run and get momentum, and you know better than yourself. Once winning becomes a habit, the dressing room, becomes more lively. The fans start coming back. Everyone's excited. Everyone starts talking about, Olympic in the top 6, and so forth and so forth and so forth.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't say there's a dark horse there, because I think the teams that we played so far, the teams that I'm watching through the weekends, I think all of them give you different challenges. And you mentioned some of the names there. I actually think it's a very open competition, and a competition that it's exciting for us coaches, for players, and also for fans. I think you do need to get a run, yes, and you're right, 100% winning is a habit, but I don't want to disrespect any of the teams, because I really do like all of them, what they offer in different ways, of course, different challenges. There's a lot of, practically now, there's a lot of things are starting to happen, which maybe prior didn't happen as much. You see teams with back 3, with back 5, there's a lot of rotations, and there's that element that's coming a lot into the game now, and I quite enjoy it. And again, sometimes I just watch the game from far as a fan, and because I do think it's a very, I don't think it gets much respect that the league, it should get more. So I don't want to just say, oh, there's a dark horse here or there, because I think they all present different challenges. And again, you have to turn up on the day. That's as simple as it gets, because I remember last year we went on a run, and then we Central Coast, I think, came home and beat us 2-1, for example. But then we went and beat Rockdale 2-1 at home, and Rockdale ended up winning the league. So my point is that there is no easy games, and each of them bring you tactically different challenges now.
Labby.
So for all the fans out there, which player in your squad should we look out for in the coming weeks? That's going to hit the ground running. No pressure at all, Labby. No pressure.
I think I was impressed with the young striker that scored the goal as well, the 4th one.
Look, again, for people that know me, I don't like to isolate a player. It's a team game. It is an exciting team. And again, I think maybe I'll start losing my hair soon, or maybe going grey, whatever, at times, at days. But there's a lot of excitement there. But again, it's not fair just to pinpoint one player. We got Dylan was good on a weekend, Seth was good on a weekend, Jack Armisen obviously has been around the league. So it's I was an attacker, so it's a bit maybe biased. So I'll go on the attacking side, but look, they all deserve to be there, and they're trying, they wanting to learn more, they want to challenge. So I get them all as a team.
Labby, thank you for your time tonight. You've always gave your time for me over the years. Appreciate it. Good, and we're all ex-Sydney Olympic, except Andy. Andy's a Club Marconi. We're all Sydney Olympic fans and tragics, and we want the club striving and doing well. And hopefully, the future's bright, and hopefully that's what we want. And good luck for the rest of the season.
Oh, thank you for having me. And always time for each other. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank
Bye,
you.
Labby.
Thanks, and thank you, boys.
Well, Labby, good luck.
Well, Andy, we know that Sydney Olympic is a powerhouse club, and it's always been it's a pressure cooker club. It's thrived on results. Achilles has got a point of late as well. We see other clubs. The Greek factor is a big thing as well. Fans want to see Greek players playing. I know it's not all about the Greek players, but it's a big job.
All these historical ethnic clubs that made the league what it is back in the NSL days, you go through all from youth level up to senior level. They want to see in their own kind, whether it's Sydney Olympic, whether it's Sydney United, Marconi. But sometimes those days it's difficult. It's difficult to find that balance there because you've got things like sponsorship involved, or you've got other parties that influence all that. But the thing is with Sydney Olympic, for me, it's one of those clubs, that the league is doing well, and I think Labby touched on it, but I think the NPL is really, really underrated. We spoke about it last week, Charles. Even both here and in Victoria, the NPL leagues in both these states, they're the ones that I've sort of really mainly follow. But
like I said, you've got every game on YouTube as well, and like you said, there's exciting games, exciting players. Jurasevsky, Kubo at Hills. There's a lot of exciting players that play in the NPL. Carla Oliveri at Sydney United, Marconi. They've got Costanzo there. There's great talent in the NPL, and there's some great quality players. You go out there and watch it. I mean, so. It's a top competition. It's closed the gap on the A League. There is still a bit of a gap, but it's a good, healthy competition, and it's great where you see players coming from the NPL system moving into the A League and doing really well as well.
The thing back on Sydney Olympic is when they're doing well, it's one of those when you say when such and such team is doing well, the whole league is doing well. I think Olympic is one of those clubs in the NPL.
100%.
When Sydney is flying, the fans jump on board, as you guys know, being a part of it. When Sydney Olympics doing well, the whole league, I think, at NPL level is doing well. So
just quickly, because we are times really catching up on us, we'll just look at the New South Wales Premier League 1. We had Blacktown Spartans 0, Uni 5, Northern Tigers 1. In the big game, SD Raiders 2. Macarthur Rams drew with my club, W2 0-0. Canterbury had a good win over Bankstown City 2-0. Hills United went down to Rydalmere 3-0. Interlions and Hakoah shared the spoils 2-2. And Newcastle Jets and Mounties also had a 2-2 draw. And yesterday, Bulls Academy 3, Bonnyrigg 1. So in those top two positions, SD Raiders still flying, team to beat, and the team that's looking to be promoted to the NPL on 22 points. Northern Tigers second on 19, followed by the Jets on 17, Bulls FC 15, Uni 14, Blacktown Spartans round up the top 6 on 14 points, but SD Raiders and Northern Tigers, but SD Raiders are looking really good at the moment, haven't lost a game and really looking good for promotion. But that's our NPL segment covered there quickly, and probably we have come to the end of the show. We haven't really been able to get into the football fever. It's been a big show. We'll get into the EPL a bit later. I'll have a show during the week myself on the EPL. But Achilles, thank you for tonight. Last minute you were brought in. You've been a hit on our chat box here. There's been quite a few chat messages about yourself and Andy there, so we haven't had time even to have a look at those messages. It's been such a huge show. But once again, boys, thank you for the show tonight. And like I said, we're trying our best, and every week we'll try and improve. It's only been 2 weeks back, getting used to the new technology as well, and we'll be back next week, bigger and better. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on YouTube. Any story breaks, any scoops breaks, Football Fever's always on top of it, and we're always ready to break a story.
Albert, thank you very much for having me. you know, you can always call me anytime, lastminute.com. You know, I'm here for you. You're doing a fantastic job, you know, bringing, you know, the football knowledge to everyone, you know, whether it's A-League, W League, NPL 1, 2, and so forth. You cover nearly every aspect of football. It's a great show. I wish you all the success. Andy, nice meeting you.
Yeah,
You know, you
likewise.
had some,
Mate.
okay, and keep it up. Keep up the good work. And anytime you need me, Chubb, I'll be for you, mate.
100%. Andy, legend. Newcastle flying. That's all we can say. Newcastle still flying, Andy.
Big game tomorrow morning, mate.
Massive game. All right, boys. That's it for Football Fever tonight. Appreciate it. We'll be back bigger and better. And like I said, keep your eye on Chubba TV, and we'll have everything on there. We'll do a highlights package for anyone that missed the interviews. There'll be a highlight package and videos of the show today as well. Appreciate it. Thank you and good night.